Hi, and welcome to today's discussion. What I will be talking about is what is Scrum methodology. Give you a basic overview about what Scrum methodology is, a little bit about the framework and the roles. Then I'll go into some of the advantages and disadvantages. So, without delay, let's crack on. So, explanation of what Scrum methodology is. The definition, and I'm going to textbook definition here is Scrum is an agile framework which is traditionally managed by software projects and so forth. It's an iterative and incremental approach that emphasizes collaboration, flexibility, and continuous improvement. Process is broken down into a series of short interaction called sprints, typically lasting between 1 to 4 weeks. At the beginning of each sprint, the team holds a planning meeting to determine which users' stories or backlog items they will work on during that sprint. And then during the sprint, the team works together to complete the tasks they have committed to. The team meets daily in a brief stand-up meeting to discuss progress, identify roadblocks, anything that's going to get in the way, any issues or problems they may have. At the end of the sprint, the team holds a review meeting to demonstrate the work they've completed, what they've done in the sprint, and anything they could have done better, etc., and so forth. Okay, so let me go into a bit more about the framework and the roles. The first part I'm going to cover is the roles within Scrum methodology. There are 3 roles. First one is product owner. The product owner who represents the customer and sets the priorities for the project. So they feed into your team. The Scrum Master is the individual who facilitates the Scrum process and helps the team to work together effectively. So it actually does all the Scrum meetings, Scrum planning, etc., and coordinates with the product owner. And finally is the development team. And in some, depending on which environment if you're doing software, then it's a development team. But if you're doing any kind of delivery, it could be a delivery team as well, which is responsible for designing and developing the test and testing the product or delivering the product. Now, as part of that, you've got a Scrum framework. Now, the Scrum framework is made up of 4 areas, or 5 areas, should I say. First one is the sprint. Now, the sprint is, in the context of sprint methodology, is a sprint refers to time-boxed activity or work in which a team completes a set of prioritized tasks. Now, this is a fixed time period during which the team focuses on delivering a specific goal or a set of user stories. Secondly, it's sprint planning. Sprint planning is a collaboration meeting held at the beginning of each sprint, so where the team gets together and starts discussing. During this session, the product owner and the development team determine the sprint goal and select a set of user stories or backlog items to work on. And that doesn't necessarily have to be software related as well. You can incorporate this into other areas of working within different industries. The team also breaks down the selected items into smaller, manageable tasks, which will have, you provide an estimate around the effort it's going to take, so it gives a clear steer of what that sprint is going to look like and how much effort it's going to take over that period. And traditionally, a sprint is between 2 to 4 weeks. Doesn't have to, it's not any longer than that, and can be shorter than that if you want. It could be a couple of days if need be. Then the next bit is daily Scrum. Now, this is your daily stand-up meetings, or as I like to call them, the stand-up meetings. And it's a short time boxed. Again, time box is a very thing with Scrum methodology. It's a time box meeting held by the team during the sprint. Its purpose is to synchronize the team activities and make sure everybody's aligned working towards the sprint goals, and that's really key. As part of this meeting, each member provides a brief update of their progress since the last daily Scrum, discusses any challenges or blockers they may have had or issues they're facing, and use the team to collaborate and identify solutions. However, it's usually time boxed for 15 minutes, so they are very quick, brief conversations. Now, a good one for someone who waffles within their daily Scrum is to use Elmo. Elmo is a phrase that means enough, let's move on, and then you pick up the issue after the call, after the actual daily Scrum. Next one is the sprint review. So the sprint review is conducted at the end of each sprint, just to understand what's been done, a formal inspection of the work you've done, what you've achieved, what's been completed, what's left to be done. And then the team showcases the product or what they've delivered to stakeholders, including the product owner at this point and possibly other key stakeholders as part of the project. The purpose here is to gather feedback, validate assumptions, and discuss potential adjustments to the product backlog based on the newly delivered function or activities as part of the project delivery. And the sprint review is really an opportunity for stakeholders to provide input and shape the future direction of the project. Again, it's very iterative, very quick, and very swift, and making changes within this environment. And then the final one is the sprint retrospective. And sprint retrospective is a meeting held after the sprint review and before the next sprint planning session. So remember that it's a meeting held after the sprint review and before the next sprint planning session. It provides an opportunity for the development team to inspect and adapt their processes. So it doesn't necessarily have to be development team, it could be the whole team, and identify areas of improvement. How can we do things better? The team, it's an opportunity for the team to reflect on what they did the previous sprint and discuss what went well, what didn't go so well, how they can improve things. And then you use that for your next sprint planning and so on. And that cycle goes round and round again. Now, some of the advantages of Scrum are, it's basically very flexible, adaptable. One of the whole purposes of, Scrum methodology, it focuses on collaboration, which is a big thing to make sure you've got your cross-functional teams and everybody coming together. It's faster time to deliver a product, and in the traditional term, it will say faster time to market if you're delivering software, but you don't necessarily always deliver software. You can deliver a product or a service. Improved quality. The Scrum focuses on continuous improvement, which is going to give continuous development on what the product you're delivering. However, there are some disadvantages. Some of those are, requires experienced team members. If you need a deep degree of good skill set to bring into a team, and like most organizations, it's not always a bad thing, but you can find sometimes you are falling short. Again, it's not always suitable for all projects. It does have a limitation, Scrum methodology. So therefore, you need to be careful. Where will it apply, or do you adapt it with other methodologies together? And I think that's the way most industries are doing it now. And it requires a good discipline and commitment. You've got to be good that you control the team to make sure that they are focused on what they're delivering. And there's very little emphasis on documentation. So sometimes, I would say not little, but less emphasis on documentation. But however, it's very important as part of the project. So as a recap, Scrum methodology is very useful, has its pros and cons. But again, don't forget, it has 3 roles in there: product owner, Scrum master, your development team. And then you've got the sprint framework, which is the actual sprint itself, sprint planning, your daily Scrum, your sprint review, and finally your sprint retrospective. And bringing that all together gives you the sprint methodology, and it has a huge amount of potential in the right environment for you to deliver a key service, product, or a physical item, or whatever that may be, as part of your project. I hope that was helpful, and thank you for listening.